Hello all, this is Dr. Sachin Punekar. Today we are going to see about glimpses of natural heritage of India. So as you make out from the this particular slide, that there is a plethora of diversity of heritage bird, heritage reptiles, minerals, and flowers. So let us start our journey of natural heritage of India. To begin with, we should offer our prayer to the deity of knowledge, that is Lord Ganesha. सामर्थ्य आहे चळवळीचे, जो जो करील तयाचे, परंतु तिथे भगवंताचे अधिष्ठान पाहिजे. This particular Trishandu Ganpati or Ganesha, it is a heritage Ganpati from Pune, and one must visit this particular temple. It's a heritage temple. It's very unique. So now we can see types of heritage. So there are two different types of heritage, that is tangible heritage and another is intangible heritage. Intangible heritage, it encompasses natural and man-made heritage. And in intangible category, we have customs, traditions, folklore, languages. So now we'll see what is natural heritage. Natural heritage refers to the sum total of the elements of biodiversity, including flora and fauna, ecosystems, and geological structures. Heritage is that which is inherited from past generations, maintained in the present, and bestowed to the future generations. The term natural heritage, derived from natural inheritance, predates the term biodiversity. So basically, nature, all creations are a part of natural heritage. It is a human bias in choosing the natural heritage. So in the present presentation, uh, it may be my personal bias in choosing the natural heritage site, because natural heritage, there is a plethora of diversity. So I will just try my level best to focus on some of the natural heritage of the country, especially Deccan Plateau, Western Ghats, and Konkan region. So please pardon me for that particular bias. So now we can see this slide tells us about the biodiversity web. It also depicts Brahmand. You can see there are various biota, various elements in the nature, like flowers, mammals, fungi, reptiles, insects, amphibians, birds. So it is like a connectivity like a Brahman. And here you can see the cobweb, and the thread of each cobweb is important for the strength of the cobweb. So each and every element in nature, every element in nature is important. If one loses its existence, then it is going to harm the whole strength of the cobweb, like this biodiversity web. So we need to have the holistic approach while addressing the natural heritage and studying the nature. This is one of the important place in Maharashtra called as Bhima Shankar Wildlife Sanctuary. Here you can see nature and culture. It is the confluence of nature and culture. This is the one of the 12th Jyotirlinga in Maharashtra. This is called as Bhima Shankar Wildlife Sanctuary. You can see here there is a temple over here which is surrounded by lush evergreen forest. So, a best example of confluence of nature and culture. This is the temple, which is a Hemarapanthi temple, which is one of the heritage temple in India, one of the 12th Jyotirlinga. So this heritage was described from various saints. Here you can see Jai Vidya and Vividhateni Ekta याचे सुरक वर्णन समर्थांनी केलं आहे. So there are various saints like Samarth Ramdas. Then we have his description about one of the important waterfall in Maharashtra near Varanda Ghat, that is called as Shivtarghal, where he described about this natural heritage. Then we have another saint in the 13th century, that is Sant Shiromani Sant Jnaneshwar, who tells us about झाड ओळखावे फुले जन ओळखावे बोले, means the identity of a plant is based on a flower, and one can identify a person based on his, speech. So these are some of the saints who plays a very significant role in describing the natural heritage of that time, and that legacy still continues. So this is one of the auspicious tree in Maharashtra. This is called as Suvarna Pimpal, which is near the Devachi Alandi, one of the important pilgrims place in Maharashtra. So this is called as Ficus religiosa, but it is having very auspicious, important, sacred tree from Maharashtra. Then this is the leaf of Ajana Vruksha. I will, talk a little later about this particular tree. This is again a sacred tree from Maharashtra. So now there are various, green days one can commemorate. There are, various green days throughout the year declared by United Nations, declared by a particular country or a particular state. So here comes the 22nd of May, which is coming now. This is an International Biodiversity Day. So on this particular day, we can commemorate or we can acknowledge the ecological services, provided by these various biological entities or denizens. So similarly, we had on 22nd April, World Earth Day, that is called a Jagtik Vasundhara Din. So basically, these green days is to celebrate and to acknowledge the biodiversity elements throughout the world. So here is the 21st March, that is International Day of Forest. Then 22nd of March, it's a World Water Day. So basically, different days for a different theme that we commemorate to acknowledge the services of these elements. United Nations declared 2011-2020 as a decade of biodiversity. Okay, so throughout the world, there are various programs which commemorates this particular, various elements of biodiversity. These are some of the eco services provided by the biodiversity, that is the natural heritage, one of the important element of natural heritage, that provisioning food, provisioning raw materials, regulating natural disasters, regulating pollination, then cultural tourism, natural tourism, then of course the fresh water which gets originated in one of the important habitats in the biodiversity aspect. Then we have medicinal resources, then wastewater treatment, then biological control, and recreation and health, and so on. So throughout the world, there are different mega biodiversity countries, and one can see the green color pattern over here, which are biodiversity rich. For example, from Australia, Brazil, China, Colombia, and so on. India stands at the position of 7, which is biodiversity rich, and there are 17 different countries which are rich in biodiversity. So here you can see biodiversity hotspot of the world. You know, Mettermeyer, who has first time coined the term biodiversity hotspot, and he has described around 35 to 36 biodiversity hotspots throughout the world. And we are fortunate that we have, 3 different biodiversity hotspots. You can see the checklist of various hotspots throughout the world. Now, these are the two important entities which deals with the natural heritage. That is, one is UNESCO, which studies natural heritage throughout the world. Then, of course, the second one, that is IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So these two entities plays a very significant role. I think you must visit the websites of these two entities and to know much more about their activities. And you can also participate in their activities as well. So these are the map where one can see 1121 outstanding universal value heritage sites, out of which there are 213 which are natural heritage sites. So you can visit the website and you can get further details. And there is a special page described by IUCN World Heritage Outlook. There is a IUCN library system where you will get a compilation of all heritage of the world. Now, what is the protocol in declaring the natural heritage site? So basically, information sources, then plus knowledge holder consultation group, then assessment of coordinator, then site assessor, then draft evaluation, expert reviewer, then final draft evaluation, and there is a special committee called as World Heritage Panel, provides oversight of the approval process of assessment for internal use of or publication, and then final evaluation and its subsequent declaration as a natural world heritage site. So this is the, it can be in the form of say draft notification, or maybe an announcement throughout their website, and so on. You can see these are the three important pillars for outstanding universal values, that is values, threats, and protection. So based on this, one can describe the natural heritage. Now, national biodiversity. India is rich in biodiversity. About 6.7% of global species found in India. Okay, so I will not go into much detail because this data is available online also. You can refer that. Even we are going to provide you some of the material. You can refer that and get that data from those web links. So these are different biogeographical classifications of India, right from Trans Himalayas, deserts, semi-arid regions, then Western Ghats, Deccan Peninsula, Gangetic Plains, coast, Northeast, and islands. So these biogeographical zones do have different natural heritage site in the respective geographical areas. So we are going to see those. These are the global hotspot what we have seen in the previous slide, and now these are the important Western Ghat, which runs parallel to the Arabian Sea. Okay, this is the chain of hill which runs parallel to the Arabian Sea, about say 1600 km long. Okay, so and here you can see northeastern mountains, also called as Seven Sister Mountain, in the almost a part of Eastern Himalaya, Sikkim, Arunachal, Assam, Tripura, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and so on. So this is also one of the important hotspot, and Western Ghat, of course, and of course the Great Nicobar Islands, some of the islands from that area. So now coming to the Western Ghat it extends in 6 different states like Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Okay, so 37% of land of Western Ghat is under forest cover, and that is a very good sign, because a lot of rivers that originates itself in the Western Ghat, 108 rivers which originates in Western Ghat. So Western Ghat is nothing but the rainmaker. Okay, so to preserve and conserve the rivers of Indian peninsula, we need to conserve the forest areas of Western Ghat, because if the forest goes, then there will be no water in the river. Yeah, now coming to the various biodiversity heritage site in India. So there is a National Biodiversity Authority, which is one of the important nodal body which deals with the biodiversity studies in the country. And these are some of the declared or notified biodiversity heritage site. Name a few, like Nalar Tamarind Grove. It is 54 acres of tamarind grove, which is again a heritage. Then Hogrekan. Then we have University of Agriculture Science GKVK campus in Bangalore, because GKVK campus is a green lung in the urban areas like Bengaluru, so it plays a very significant role. Then Ambaraguda, which is one of the important site located in Sharavati Wildlife Sanctuary and Someshwara Wildlife Sanctuary, and it has a very unique forest system called as Shola. Then Glory of Alapalli, which is known for one of the loftiest and tallest trees of teak, like Lakshmana and Ram. So these are some of the unique areas for the tree heritage of India. Then we have Dotari BHS under Darjeeling Forest Division. We have Tonglu BHS under Darjeeling Forest Division. Then, of course, Dialong Village. Then Aminpur Lake. Then we have Mazuli in Assam. Then Garial Rehabilitation Center, and so on. So these are some of the biodiversity heritage site. You can visit the National Biodiversity Authority, that is NBA, and through their web you can get this particular data. Now, we have certain natural and mixed World Heritage sites in India. So, among that, that is Great Himalayan National Park. Then we have Kaziranga National Park. We have Kavladal National Park. We have Kanchenjunga National Park. Then Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, Sundarban National Park, Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers. Then we have Western Ghats. So now we'll see one by one these natural heritage sites. It's the Great Himalayan National Park conservation area. You can see, lofty, snowy peaks with laden with the beautiful carpet of flowers. Then, certain temperate forest species, some of the unique conifers, gymnosperms, they are very unique, part of this particular habitat. Then we have Kaziranga National Park. This is one of the swampy area, and uh, big celebrity animals like Asiatic elephant. Then we have one-horned rhinoceros. Then we have, water buffalo over there. Then certain endangered, deers in this particular area. So this area is landscape-wise also very important, and the wildlife also it is very important. And then of course Keolado National Park or Bharatpur Wildlife Sanctuary, earlier known as, which is known for migratory birds. So, birds from Siberia, birds from Europe, birds from China, they are visiting this particular area, and this is an excellent abode for migratory birds, especially, and of course for the residential birds. A lot of photographers, amateurs, and professionals and researchers they do visit this area to study birds. So excellent place for ornithologists. Then we have Kanchenjunga National Park. You can see it is above tree line, and there are snowy peaks. You can see there is a vegetation of rhododendron, which is very unique. This is rhododendron anthropogon, which grows at that particular altitude, which is very unique. And one can study this ecosystem elaborately to understand the uniqueness of these uh, trees. And these are some of the snowy peaks from that region. Look at the conifers, dense, forested regions in this particular area. When rivers comes to the plain region, the river beds gets widened, and you can see a lot of moist deciduous forests, broadleaf forests such as Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, which is one of the important habitat for again a celebrity animals such as elephants, one and rhinoceros, and so on. Even the Royal Bengal tiger, and you can see even kind of sal forest, broadleaf forest in this region. Then, of course, Sundarbans National Park. It is one of the important mangrove habitat in the country. Potential habitat for Royal Bengal tiger, again a charismatic cat species from India. This area not only rich in wildlife, but this area is also rich in honey production. So, world's biggest honey production area is nothing but the Sundarban. So, Sundarban is an basically mangrove area. It's an ecotonal region. It's an estuarine region where fresh water and marine water meets. So estuarine, kind of ecosystem are world's biggest productive ecosystem. So one must visit Sundarban to study these, things. Then we have Nanda Devi and Valley of Flower National Park. Again, a very interesting habitat. You can see a plethora of diversified flowering plant species and the dependent insect biota and other biota. Also, in various season, you can see there is a change in the color pattern of flowers. So, flower carpets, the color go on changing in various season, and one need to study elaborately this habitat. Then coming to the Western Ghat, the solid Western Ghat, I must say, here you can see this is the Arthur Seat Point from Hableshwar, and you can see there are different strata of lava flow, and you can see at the right dense evergreen forest in the Western Ghats. So this is the typical view of northern Western Ghats in Maharashtra. Now coming to the uh, national symbols, national animal that is Panthera tigris. You can see a Royal Bengal tiger over here, a charismatic cat species. Then here national bird, Pavo cristatus, Indian peafowl. Then we have national tree that is called as Ficus bengalensis, banyan tree or wood in Marathi. Then we have national flower called as Nilambo nucifera, that is lotus or kamal in Marathi. And of course, the natural national heritage animal that is Asian elephant or Elephas maximus, because it is not only biologically important, but it is culturally also significant. And there are a lot of evidences in our culture, in our old literature, and so on. So this is now our national heritage animal. Now coming to the state level, because similarly like national symbols, we have state symbols in the country. So we'll take some of the examples of some state, like Maharashtra. We have Lagostomia, that is called a Taman. We have Indian giant squirrel, that is called a Shekru. Then we have yellow-footed green pigeon, which is called as Harial. And of course, the state tree is called as mango. Even the state tree mango, it is our national fruit. Okay, Mangifera indica. Then coming to the state of Sikkim, the Sikkim state flower is Dendrobium nobile. This is an epiphytic, very interesting orchid species. Then we have Sikkim state tree that is called as the Rhododendron niveum. This is very interesting, flower. Look at the flower color. Now, coming to the central India, we have plains, we have swampy areas, and charismatic mammals like Royal Bengal tiger are the typical, animal species one can see over here. You can see there are, aquatic birds, water birds, migratory birds, and swampy areas. You can see number of deer species also. Look at the vegetation and grass cover, grasslands in these areas, surrounded by the broadleaf forest or a sal forest. Now, coming to the Western Ghat part, we'll begin with Northern Western Ghats. We'll see different landscapes in the Western Ghat first. You can see there is a Harishandragarh hill ranges. Then we have typical Kokankada, a paradise for trekkers, an important habitat for a number of endemic species. Then we have peak of Kalsubai, which is the tallest peak in Maharashtra in the northern Western Ghats, and the height above mean sea level is 1646 meter. Okay, look at the stunted semi-evergreen forest in these areas. Okay, this is a typical semi-evergreen forest from Harishandragarh. You can see a stunted semi-evergreen forest, and there is a typical carpet of Carvia callosa or a Strobilanthes callosa, what we call as Carvi, which is one of the important, element, floristic element in Western Ghats. This is the typical vegetation on the hill slopes of Western Ghats. You can see it is in mosaic format. It is in pockets. You can see that, and a lot of endemic species they reside in these pockets. Now look at this. This is the geomorphological heritage or a geological heritage called as Sandan Valley, which is also biological heritage. And you can see there is a big, dike or gorge. You can see there is, water gets accumulated in this particular dike, and especially in monsoon season, it is full of water. Okay, so you can find a lot of endemic fish species or aquatic species in this particular Sandan Valley. So one must visit this geomorphological feature, which is also or equally rich in biological heritage. Now coming to further south, that is Nagpani, which is Bhimashankar Wildlife Sanctuary, famous for Indian giant squirrel. That is the state animal of Maharashtra. And you can see here at Nagpani, there is a carpet of flowers. It is yellow in color. In the during festival time of Diwali, you will see this senecio with yellow flowers. And if you visit in the month of July, it will look entirely bluish in color. If you visit in August, it will look entirely pink in color because of balsams and other things. So this is also valley of flower in northern Western Ghat. These are the typical semi-urban forest in Bhimashankar Wildlife Sanctuary. You can see the stunted semi-urban forest in Durgawadi region of Junnar. Then stunted semi-urban forest, a typical evergreen in Tamini Wildlife Sanctuary, which is near to Pune. Yeah, this is one of the important site called as Kundalika Valley. The river Kundalika originates in this particular valley, which goes to Bhira and further down towards Raigad and ultimately meets the Arabian Sea. So it's a small river but highly torrent kind of river, and one of the important habitat for a lot of natural heritage elements, especially faunistic and floristic denizens of the country. This is again a very interesting geomorphological site called as Ranjan Kharge. Um, you can see it is a Nighoz area, and on this particular river, you can see there are potholes, and these potholes contains seasonal water bodies, which also habitat for endemic fish species, endemic shrimp species, and so on. And one need to preserve these geomorphological features and the biodiversity which resides therein. Then there are different forts, which is again natural heritage of our country. And Maharashtra is having more than 500 or 600, forts, maybe forest forts or maybe sea forts and so on. This is an ephemeral lake in one of the in part of Western Ghats. These are the grasslands which are typical in the Mawad region of Western Ghats, and these are one of the important fodder source for the local livestock, because there are number of endemic grass species, native grass species, which has having high nutrient contents, and which ultimately support the local wildlife and livestock. Now coming to the different parts of forts. This is Sinhagad or Torna Hill Fort, important habitat for endemic species. This is again the drone shot from Pasgaon Parvati near Pune. You can see there is lot of greenery on this, but this greenery is generally a monoculture, rather a plantation of Gliricidia or Lucena or Dalbergia melanoxylon, and again an invasive alien species from abroad. So these invasive species also hampering the local heritage with the local habitat, that is a typical scrubby and grassland vegetation. But now these invasions are affecting these local species. This is the typical scrub vegetation in eastern spurs of Western Ghats of Pune, and this is also one of the important habitat, again a natural heritage site. We have already discussed about this. This is a Arthur Seat Point in Mahabaleshwar. Yeah, this is recently declared or described or notified UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site, that is called as Kas Lateritic Plateau, or it is also called as Kas Fericrit. In Marathi, it is called as Zamba Sada. So you can see this is the photograph that we have taken basically during the season of March or April. So it looks almost barren, but during March and April also we can see a very interesting wildlife or a floristic elements on such plateaus. But if you visit this Kas Lateritic Plateau or Lateritic Plateau in general in the Western Ghats, in monsoon they are entirely covered with ephemeral flush vegetation, a seasonal communities of plants which is entirely covered, and there are a carpet of flowers on such lateritic plateaus. You can see there are impatiens like balsam, there are bladderworts which are bluish in color called as utricularia, and these all white color flowers, these are called as pipeworts, or it is called as Eriocolon species. So these are the natural heritage on these particular lateritic habitats. Now one can see here, this is a insectivorous plant species called as Utricularia purpurescens, or called as bladderwort, or in Marathi called as Sitechi asve. So this is very fascinating plant species. This is called as balsam, called as Impatiens laui. These are some of the streams in the evergreen forest of Koyna. Koyna is one of the important protected area. Uh, is a part of recently declared Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, and this is one of the interesting habitat in Maharashtra. Again, and typical evergreen forest. These are there in this protected area. This is the northernmost limit for Indian king cobra. Again, a very important reptile species, because further north of Koyna we generally do not get king cobras. So this is the last hope for population of king cobras in Maharashtra. Then we have tree toads called as Pedostibus, which are also there in Koina Wildlife Sanctuary. This is again a typical evergreen forest from Western Ghats of southern part of Maharashtra. This is Dajipur Wildlife Sanctuary, known for the biggest cattle of the world, that is called as Bos Gaurus or Indian Gaur, or in Marathi it is called as Gawa. So one must visit this habitat. These are typical lateritic plateaus. You can see the boulders, rocky boulders on the plateaus. This looks barren, but it supports entirely a different kind of biota. Again, a view of lateritic plateaus. Yeah, these are some of the ephemeral wetlands and abode for cryptic and seasonal life. You can see on these puddles, monsoon puddles, on the fringeal areas, a lot of plant species, amphibian species, fish species, seasonal fish species you can come across here. Then there is a plant called as Oryza rufifogon, which is the wild relative of our domestic rice variety. So such agriculture heritage plants also you can come across in such habitats. These are the lateritic plateaus from the lowland, means from the Konkan region. These are some of the hot springs from the Konkan region. This is from Unere, the place which is in Raigad district of Maharashtra. And these are the hot springs which also has uh, sulfur bacteria or thermophilic bacteria or microbes, which are very unique to such habitat, such hot water springs. And there are so many new novelties are coming up from this. So many new species, people, scientists, they are discovering from these particular habitats, and we need to conserve and protect such hot water springs. And even it is not only biologically rich or chemically rich, but it also has some medicinal properties. There are certain evidences that it can cure skin diseases and others. So one need to preserve such important heritage sites from the country. Yeah, we have seen a number of lateritic plateaus. The lateritic plateaus not only rich for biological diversity, but they are also rich in other art forms like this petroglyph, which is called as Katal Shilpa. It is basically a stone carving on the lateritic plateaus. There are different, art forms on the lateritic plateau, and one need to pursue these research studies on the lateritic plateaus to address the petroglyphs from the country. Yeah, we have very interesting beaches where one can find a lot of endemic species, lot of coral reefs and other things. Even critically endangered olive ridley turtles do visit such beach areas, lay their egg on this particular site. Um, so you all know Vengurle, then Sindhudurga, then part from Ratnagiri. They do have such important pristine, beaches in Maharashtra. Yes, mangrove vegetation again a very important kind of vegetation. We have seen Sundarban case. This is from Maharashtra. This is act as a protective shield from certain natural calamities like tsunami or cyclones. So one need to preserve and conserve such important habitats. Okay, because these mangrove habitats are one of the most productive ecosystem on the earth. So we need to preserve that. These are negatively geotropic roots called as nematophores, which is the character of mangroves, like Rhizophora, Soneraceae. Then we have Brugueria, and there are different mangrove species what we have in India. This is a typical view of vegetation from Amboli forest region. These are interesting fern species from the ecotonal zone of, or rather meeting point of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Goa. This is from Anmodu Ghat, and this fern is called as Osmunda regalis. And again, a lithophytic fern means the fern which grows on the rock or rocky boulders in the stream region. This is again a very interesting river called as Kali River. Uh, Kali River, as you all know, it is a very small river, maybe around 108 kilometer, but it is the most fast flowing river in the country, and which supports a myriad life forms of biota. This is the home for Asian elephant. then Royal Bengal tiger, then common, then leopard, especially the black leopard from this particular area, then a sizable population of Indian king cobra, then Malabar slender loris, then three different species of hornbills, and so on, and n number of endemic, critically endangered, red listed plant species from this region. So, because of this river, this entire area is declared as a Kali Tiger Reserve. Okay, earlier known as Dandelianchi Tiger Reserve, now declared as KTR or Kali Tiger Reserve. This is the drone shot that we have taken in the Ganeshgudi region of Karnataka. And as you all know, drone gives a very fantastic result, a different perspective. So I call drone as a dronacharya. Basically it teaches a lot, because it gives different perspective, different angle of conservation studies, and it can be one of the important conservation tool also. Look at the diversity of the Kali river typical habitat. This is the west coast tropical evergreen forest in Karnataka. This is from Anchi National Park. Look at the lofty trees, what we call as Vruksha Purushottam. This is called as Germal. Look at the bole size. Look at the buttresses, and there is a heavy, competition for light. So you can see such dense growth in the evergreen forest. Then, of course, the botanical heritage like lianas means woody climbers. It is also one of the heritage. As you can see, this is called as Garambi, Entada, Ridae. This is again very interesting. Then we have Nitum ula, a gymnosperm species which is present in Western Ghats. So lot of interesting, you know, uh, liana species in Western Ghats. Then we have further, south in Karnataka, we have certain geological wonders called as Yana rock. Uh, Geologically interesting, even botanically, because there is a palm called as Corifa palm, which grows here and which directly grows in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So there is a disjunct distribution of this particular species. So phytogeographically also it is very significant. Now we can see Sharavati Wildlife Sanctuary over here. You can see the lofty growth of luxuriant palms over here. Then of course one of the natural heritage called as Zokfall. It is called as Raja Rani Rocket Roarer. There is a endemic grass which grows on the rocky boulders down there. It is called as Hubbardия peptoneron, which is again a critically endangered or presumably extinct grass species from this region, and one need to research or to rediscover this particular species. This is from Kudremukh National Park. This is a kind of Shola forest that is in Karnataka, one of the important habitat. This is from Ebbenad near Uti or Utakman. Again, a interesting Shola kind of forest. Look at the canopy color. This canopy contains lot of arboreal mammals such as Indian giant squirrel, Malabar slender loris, then flying squirrels, civets, and so on. So, it harbors number of endemic bird species in this region. So, canopy ecology is one of the fascinating science, and there is a lot of scope to address this issue in Western Ghats. Then this is called as Paidanmala in Kerala. This is Chemra Peak, one of the tallest peak in Kerala. This is again a kind of Shola forest. You can see there is a swampy region in the mountain forest of Sholas in the Kerala, and this is of course the tail end of Western Ghat and the highest peak in Western Ghat called as Anaimudi. The height is 2695 meter above mean sea level. Now, coming to the different forest types in Western Ghats, especially in northern Western Ghat, this is a very interesting forest patch called as Devrai or sacred grove. Sacred means pavitra and grove means rai or vegetation. So basically, sacred groves are traditionally preserved by the local people for a local deity, god or goddess, maybe Shankaroba, Masoba, uh, then Janai, Vardani, Kalakai, Kalubai, and so on. There are different forms of god or goddesses, and basically there is a belief that if somebody you know uh, cut the trees or cut the bole uh, uh, without asking the permissions of the local deity, then that deity may curse that particular person. So because of that belief, these particular forest patches remain preserved. And one can see here there is a river which or a stream which originates from this particular sacred grove, and you can see there is a lot of destruction in the surrounding area, but this grove is preserved just because of that local belief. This is a Bhairava sacred grove from Ahupe near Bhimashankar, and you can see the river got originated in this. This is one of the important tributary for Bhima river. This river is called as Ghod river or Ghod Nadi in Marathi. Then this is the sacred grove from Durgawadi, from Junnar in Maharashtra. This is Ratanwadi sacred grove. Look at the open kind of deity or a temple just beneath the tree. This is very unique kind of sacred groves. You get lofty trees, one of the important medicinal species, and endemic species in such sacred grove. Yeah, this is very important. This is a sacred grove from Tamini Wildlife Sanctuary in Maharashtra. This is called as Vardani Sacred Grove. As you can see, there is a temple over here which is surrounded by the vegetation. Look at the canopy color. There is a river called as Nila, which originates nearby this particular sacred grove. So this is the drone shot what we have taken in northern Western Ghats. This is again a different sacred group called as Zanai sacred group or Mangav sacred group from Panchet region of Maharashtra. This is one of the biggest sacred group in India. This is again important sacred group from Maharashtra. This is Siddhabet. This is near Anandi, and there is a grove of plant species called as Ajan Vruksha. You can see there is a different dense vegetation of Irisha leaves called as Ajan Vruksha, or also called as Yogavalli or Gorakshavalli or Purnadhana, Nidhi, Yogini, and so on. This is one of the important sacred tree from Maharashtra. As you can see, that we have now started an initiative to promote this particular tree. We are growing this tree throughout India. This is again a different sacred group from Bhimashankar. Then Tatodi, again of Bhimashankar. So grooves are not only important for vegetation, but they are also important heritage for certain stone carves, as you can see here. So these are some of the media outreach about the sacred grove, about our studies. This is the dense canopy of the sacred grove. Of course, this evergreen forest contains charismatic mammals like Royal Bengal tigers, leopard, then Indian giant squirrel, which is the state animal of Maharashtra. This is called as Shekru or Devkhar in Marathi. Yeah, this is very interesting. This is called as Malabar slender loris. This is in local language, Kannada language, called as Kadu Papa. Kadu means forest and Papa means child, or it is also known as Lajavanti in Marathi. It is a nocturnal primate, an endemic primate, which resides in the high canopy in the moist deciduous and semi-evergreen kind of forest. So this is again a heritage animal of India. Yeah, this is again a very interesting habitat called as freshwater myristica swamps. So these are the inland swamps in the evergreen forest, which is having a very unique habitat. Some of the endemic myristica species like myristica, then we have Gymnacranthera and so on. These are negatively geotrophic, root systems in the freshwater myristica swamps. We have retrieved some of the fossils from such myristica swamps. Look at the fossil impressions on the stones, and one can identify with the leaf shape and leaf morphology and compare with the modern analog and identify these fossils. So this is one of the interesting, discovery from Netravati. It is in Goa. This is called as frog called as Nila Netras. This is a typical of such myristica swamps. Then, of course, Malabar giant squirrel from down south in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, feeding on Macaranga peltata. This is hill myna, an important songbird or a mimic, which is a canopy bird, very interesting, a frugivorous kind of bird, feeding here on Moi. Then this is again an endemic bird called as Malabar grey hornbill. Uh, this is a sizable population throughout the Western Ghat. Here you can see it is sitting on Sterculia, uh, basically Sterculia, one of the important species from Western Ghats. It is Sterculia guttata. This is called as Pasu Kauda or Emeraldo, again an important bird from Western Ghats. This is the endemic crimson back sunbird. Here it is sitting on the balsam tree. Very interesting bird. This is Malabar pied hornbill, what we call as Dhanesh in Marathi. Here you can see it is sitting on poisonous tree species called as Strychnos nuxvomica, and here it is taking basically dust bath to get rid of certain pests and other things. These are some of the reptiles what we have in Western Ghats. So you can see Indian king cobra over here, bamboo pit viper, what we call as sapada in Marathi, a venomous snake. This is wine snake, green wine snake, non-poisonous snake. Generally, resides in the shrubberies, in the shrub area. You can also find in small trees also, getting camouflage with the local vegetation. This is again a Malabar pit viper, again a venomous snake, which is ground dwelling here. And there are different, morphs of Malabar pit viper. There are different color in different habitats. So here it is camouflaging with the fallen leaf litter. This is a large scale shield tail, what we call as Khapar khaulia in Marathi. This is again an endemic species of reptile from Western Ghats. These are some of the interesting, frog species. This is called as Philotus winadensis. This is the mating call, mating behavior of this, bush frog. This is a recently described species of tree frog called as Ravarchartis ghati. This is a very interesting, fascinating amphibian called as Malabar gliding frog, Rhacophorus malabaricus. Then certain invertebrates, insects, those are fascinating. This is a lantern fly. It's a kind of plant bug, very colorful in nature. This is called as owl moth, which exactly mimics the eyes of owl. So this is just to threaten the predators. This is called as bee fly, pollinating some of the local species. This is called as signature spider or called as Swakshri Koli in Marathi. And these are different, fungal flora of Western Ghats. This is the delicacy. Most of them are edible in nature. You can see colorful mushrooms, edible mushrooms over here. Uh, you can see mushrooms which are coral-like. So these are called as coral. Then there are called as bracket fungi, and these are all bracket fungi. You can see this is Microlepiota mahabaleshwarensis, again an edible mushroom from Western Ghats. This is called as stinghorn fungi. There is a typical odor of this particular fungi. These are called as termitomyces, means the fungal species which grows on the termite mound. These are edible in nature. This is delicacy. These are called as earth star, geostroms. These are called as basketball fungi, called as clathrus. It's called as bird nest fungi. You can see it is like a bird nest, and these are like eggs of birds. This is called as Cyathea. This is Microporus xanthopus, a bracket fungi. These are called as fort ant nest. This is called as harvester ant nest. And look at the channels or the fort-like structure. The runoff in the rain. To channelize the water, this is the strategy used by the ant species. So probably what we are building, the forts or constructions, we are getting an impetus just because of such nature's creation. So we are just generally mimicking the nature. So we have not invented many things. We have just mimicked the nature. So a lot of things to learn from nature. These are lichens, some of the bryophytes, some of the interesting insects. This is called as pill millipede. This is called as banded centipede, called as Vaxarla or Scolopendra. It's a neurotoxic centipede from Western Ghats. Some of the interesting plant species like Nagmani. This is very fascinating. Now, just see there are different, lion-tail macaques, Malabar slender lories, giant squirrels, civets, and different, linas. Yeah. Now coming to the tribal heritage. This is the wild vegetable. This is a wild recipe prepared by the local tribals. You can see using the local vegetables, which are highly seasonal in nature. This is again a delicacy. This is a part of natural heritage. This is the one of the tribal man who is harvesting local fishes by applying the juices of that particular tree, and it get temporarily paralyzed the local fishes, and he can easily capture those fishes. This is the plant called as Nidia glauca, or Rametha in Marathi. So such practices also a part of natural heritage. Then you can see there is a lateritic plateau, some of the fascinating, snakes in the Western Ghats, like this Kaire's black shield-tail, then olive forest snakes or Rhabdopus aquaticus, recently described, uh, then banded gecko like Geckonella deccanensis, and some of the endemic toads. This is called as Sicilian. These are called as limbless amphibians, which is again a unique biota. This is called as a rat, called as Millardia kondani. This is called as Kondana rat, restricted to Sinhagad, Rajgarh, or Torna forts. Some of the interesting, elements. Look at the beautiful color of flowers. This is called as Pogostemon. This is called as Smithia. This is called as Coral discus. This is called as Cytocline lutea. Again, an endemic in northern Western Ghats. This is called as Smithia hirsuta. Yeah, this is very fascinating. This is a robber's cave in Western Ghat, and it is a composite bat colony. There are three different bat species which resides together: Rosetus lichtenolti and two different species of Myotis, that is insectivorous plant. Rosetus lichtenolti is the dominant bat species in the robber's cave. You can see eyes are blinking over here, and there is a white heap of fecal matter which is called as guano, which is very unique. And this contains a lot of new microbes, lot of fungal species, so it is a very interesting and fascinating field to explore cave ecology. Uh, these are myotis, insectivorous bats, different habitats, different orchid species, which is again a heritage. This is a Pterosaurus indicum, a recently described new species from the Western Ghats of Karnataka. These are some of the habitats from Maharashtra in the stream region. Look at this whirling beetles, pan nivlia, what we call in Marathi. This is not a fossil. This is just a dried Podostemacea member. And if you apply a little bit of water, it becomes green in color. So it is a resurrection plants. So these are desiccation tolerant plant species, belongs to family Podostemacea. So one can see this natural heritage in, there are important local fish species, which is a part of natural heritage. Now look at the fish diversity. Now we have seen already a couple of amphibians. Now these are Hoplobacterus tigrinus, Euplectics, then mud puddling by butterfly. This is called as a water scorpion. This is called as tiger toad. This is again this is called as bullfrog. Not, I'm very sorry. This is not a. This is called as bullfrog. Very interesting. This is the breeding form of the bullfrog. Then you can see some of the birds like brownfish owl. Then this is white eye, purple moorhen, painted storks. Then some of the fascinating species of Sauropegias called as Sauropegia elegans, Sauropegia huberi, Sauropegia mahabali. Some of the interesting, fascinating, and odorous, orchids like Iria reticosa, which is a lithophytic orchid from northern Western Ghats, Iridis crispum. Some of the, wild lilies of Crinum woodrowi, Crinum brachinima, and so on. Then Topligaravi, what we call as Strobilanthus sicily. See, this is like a green, this is like a purple carpet or a blue carpet. So basically, the name Nilagiri comes from the local varieties of Strobilanthus. There is a Nilakurunji called as Nilgiranthus punthianus, and this is Nilgiranthus sessilis or reticulatus. So basically, just because of the flower color, the name Nilgiri has evolved. This is called as Carvi. This is one of the interesting plant called as Praria indica, recently named as Shivasuman in Marathi because the birthplace of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, which is Shivneri, and the first scientific discovery of this particular plant is also from Shivneri. And there are other lot of relevance to that. So it has named as Shivasuman in Marathi. This is Abiturn Randadi, again an endemic, say, flowering plant species. Very interesting, need to be domesticated in large quantities. This is called as Hoya whitey. These are some of the fascinating floristic elements from. These are Ceropegias from Western Ghats. You can see plethora of diversity. These are LS. Then there are cobra lilies, aroides in Western Ghats and Himalayan region. Ceropegias again from Western Ghats. Some of the different habitats like scrubby habitats which contains important fan-throated lizards. This is called as Sitana. This is called as Sarada in Marathi also, and Sarada in botanic in zoological language also. This is again a fan-throated lizard, a breeding say display of this particular reptile. This is Bengal fox, typical of such rocky habitats. This is a gray wolf, apex predator on grasslands. This is striped hyena, again important scavengers from grasslands and scrub forests. This is called as Indian gazelle, what we call a chinkara in Marathi. This is Indian eagle owl, called as Shrungi Gubad in Marathi. It can predate on rodents, and it can also predate on bicolored scorpions in most of the time. It is called as soft-scaled viper, called as fursa in Marathi. Then chameleon, again an important reptile in such habitats. Then, of course, along with the biological heritage, we have certain mineral heritage that is called as cavensite or apophyllite, which is very unique. Then mesolite or punalite, again a natural heritage of mineral heritage. Then, of course, the interaction between the plants and insects is again a part of heritage. So look at the symbiotic relationship between the insects and plants. This is a mimicry of a insect. You can see here. This is called as bee orchid. It mimics exactly mimics the female wasp, or basically it exactly mimics the uh, wasp, and it can also emit certain pheromones which are exactly of the opposite sex, so which can attract the opposite sex, and there is a pseudo copulation takes place, and the pollinia which are here get deposited on the body of the insects, and cross pollination takes place. So these are some of the interesting facets of natural heritage. These are animal depicting flower forms of cobra lily. These are some of the wild ornamentals which needs to be domesticated. This is the plethora of diversity. You can see we have a rich jump plasm resources in India. Uh, I can send you the details later on. You know, so tribal heritage is one of the important heritage. They are using number of plant species traditionally for local medicines, and which is having an immense value. So there are certain wild edibles, which is again a heritage, and which needs to be commercially tapped, and we can boost the economy of local people also, and the economy of the country also. So earlier one was Elaeagnus. This is Flacrotia montana, again a wild edible. These are the local people selling the wild edibles in the local market. So this is the called as Maina laxiflora, what we call as Alu in Marathi. So we conduct various festivals or workshops to address the importance of these wild edibles. Uh, but there are number of threats to the heritage, like quarry activities, which can totally destroy the local vegetation and the biota therein. You know, intense burning of habitat, again a biggest threat to the local biota. Then windmills, again a very important threat to the important species. Like you can see Aponogeton satarensis, one of the critically endangered species over here, and windmills are the biggest threat to such species. Then wrong plantation in wrong habitats, again a biggest threat to the local habitat. Dam constructions, then over exploitation of wild ornamentals, unscientific cutting of the cliffs, then invasions in the country. That is the this is the African snail, which is the biggest threat to the biodiversity, and biological invasions in general is the second biggest threat to the natural biota of any country. Then unscientific tourism, again a threat to the natural heritage because it many times goes beyond the carrying capacity of the area. So we need to basically have certain activities like Swachhata Abhiyan to clean up, or we should have certain drives to clean up the natural heritage sites. Many people, many stakeholders should come together to do that. Here, the natural heritage site of potholes, we had the cleaning drive in this particular area. Then there are things one can raise the placards or harita falak or green boards to make people aware, citizens aware about the green heritage of our city, village, or so on. So we can put such information boards to make people aware about the heritage of your area. People's involvement, local people's involvement, commemorating various festivals is a key to appreciate the heritage and conserve the heritage. Then we have to have a dialogue with the bureaucracy to make them understand the importance of these heritage entities. Then we have to have dialogue with the people's representative also, make them aware and sensitize about the various heritage which can ultimately help to conserve these biological heritage site. Then of course we have to try to walk and talk with the system, because simply sitting aside cannot solve the purpose. We have to have the continuous dialogue with the system, and we have to learn from many things from the rural people, tribal people, because the way they sustainably live, it's a key for success. And we have to imbibe number of things from such tribal people. So the great Mahatma Gandhi said, "Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed." And a judicial utilization of natural resources is real brahmacharya. न्यायिक पद्धतीतनं नैसर्गिक साधन संपत्तीचा केलेला वापर हा चालू शकतो, आणि तेच खऱ्या अर्थानं ब्रह्मचर्य असं मला इथं नमूद करायचं आहे. In a life ridden with the problem of pollution, poverty, corruption, and terrorism, it is easy to assume the role of passive complainer, observer, and by default a participant. The other option is to stand up, take a stand, and fight for your beliefs. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any questions? I will happy to have those questions.